So I think that without further ado, as we saw a little preview of, next up we are going to have John Bond, who's the founder and game director at T-Witch Games, a Seattle-based indie studio. John's a piano teacher who made their way into game development by being a pixel artist, and then eventually leading into designing and programming. Also the owner of a wonderful frog hat. I saw it show up in StreamYard and was like, I want the hat. I want a frog hat. Oh, and you got the headphones over the hat. Amazing.
I got to complete the entire ensemble.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yes, and you like making fun narrative games and obsessing over how to make action roguelikes with that are story based and accessible to all. And you're here to talk about doors, which we love. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, wow. That's so nice. Everyone's so kind to me. I've caused nothing but issues. And everyone's been so great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is John Bond. I'm an indie game developer. It was already said. Part of T-Wish Games. But today, you can call me the Door Master, Lord of Doors, because I'm here to talk to you about design choices regarding doors or whatever it is linking randomization together in roguelikes. So for this talk, for this fast little thing, I just kind of go macro to micro regarding doors. I'll first sort of define what I'm talking about when I say doors. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they work within game design and player feel, and then finally talking of a separate genre of door systems across the vastness of roguelikes. So, yeah, what even are doors? Are these doors? The answer's already there. You can see it. No, they're not. It says doors. Don't believe this game. Doors are any sort of object that, when interacted with or crossed, will bring apart the next randomized area in a notable way, both to the designer and to the player. As such, despite how there may be a whole lot of smaller randomized sections of a map, to the designer, to a player, it's a lot less likely to recognize that they are in a new randomized area. If you have a map that's generated with a whole bunch of tiled smaller maps within it, that's not quite what I mean. To a player, the whole map is one big random area, not just a series of smaller random ones. So what I'm really talking about is what is sort of a large and iconographic way to separate one feel of a full random area to the player from another full random area. So this may be a door that you're kind of seeing right here. But aside from a door, it might be a hole, a bunch of staircases, teleporters, a rope, whatever. The symbology of these thresholds are kind of big for a player because without them, you lose a lot in terms of pacing and design. So that's a door. Uh, so once upon a time, doors were just sort of needed because of loading. This isn't animated, don't worry about it. But for those of you who are in the know, this is the Resident Evil 1 door used hugely to sneakily put in loading. Today's technology, we don't really need big loading times, but kind of weirdly back then, doors and these sorts of loading times almost worked in favor to the player because players are not a machine usually. So what I'm talking about is breath. I'm going to breathe for a moment. So breath in games, it looks very different depending on the game. Generally speaking, it's a moment that allows a player potentially infinite time to do whatever they want before they have to lock in again. This isn't just for action games. Players need a moment where they have complete control as they do in the game, and yet still has stopped asking them to perform. The game has stopped asking them. So we need the player to stop trying so hard for a bit, but the player also needs to have a reason to stop trying so hard for a bit. That sort of shakeup is where doors shine. Pausing doesn't really count as a breath. Pausing is just a necessity. But that's not how people play. People won't pause just to take a break all the time. Designers sort of have to handhold people to take a break. So the thing I want you to kind of think about or notice is, do you ever notice that when you as a player, you find a door that leads to the next area, things change in the way that you're playing. You have to make a decision to do something other than look for or gain access to the next area. all games treat this differently. Some games with large maps may make you make sure you go through every nook and cranny looking for things. Some other games, like if you see the next door, it's a saving light, a way to get out of a stressful situation. So what I'm saying is, one, you want to have a big purpose for this moment. Small exploration is great as breath, even if it's just collecting a little loot or finding a shop or fishing. And two, you don't want to take control away from the player because it will always feel bad. This keeps playing, keep the game playing like it always does. Players can be in here infinitely with no issues and never feel that they are missing out on the game because they have full control of when they continue on. If a game doesn't have this, you really feel it. Like if it has a timer or if it like pulls you into a completely separate way of playing or engaging with the situation. So now when games require constant pressure, sometimes timers are necessary due to game design, but honestly, you find that unless you're playing a player competitive game, this is usually avoided. So that's the breath side of doors. That's breathing. We're done breathing. No more breathing. It's a symbol of pacing, structure. Players often recognize it very early on. The other thing, the more noticeable thing I want to show about doors before we dive more into it, just to define what I'm talking about, is iconography. This is beyond a door's ability just to give breath or load the next area. It's information. Types of doors are utilized to give information to the player of what is about to happen. There are icons that signify what going through this door means. This player can absorb information during this breath period, and that's important as they're taking in another level of information, often a level of information of long-term strategy as opposed to short-term decisions. So Hades gives icons, which makes it easy to parse most information in the fastest time, but you also get a lot from even just the art, the size, the style of door that indicate changes coming up. It's still iconography, but it's the whole art. It's weird because despite what players might sometimes think, designers don't usually want to surprise players. We want to give tons of information that their decision is going to cause something to happen, even when that decision is completely linear. Like you can only go into this big hellish portal, but you are warned that it's going to be big and hellish in there. That's important because it makes a situation where a player is wasting their time until they enter this teleporter, this door, but it still feels interesting and they still have full warning and knowledge. So now it can be hard to make decisions on the type of door or map system that you're going to put in game, and that's more the meat of what I'm going to. So the game's genre, the goals, the features, it all makes a big difference. We're going to take some time to talk about all the types of roguelike door systems there are. Here we go. Wait, before we get there, there's variables. Okay, so there's a few metrics that I'm talking about that I've split up these games by door. One, there is the run length, kind of self-explanatory. How long does it take to get through the run? Most games, roguelike games, it's like, 20-ish minutes. A lot of them are in like the 40-minute range. Some of them could be in like the 12-hour range, depending on what you want to define as a roguelike. But yeah, the next one is game pacing. A lot of this has to do with just the game's genre, action, strategy, turn-based. Is there dialogue? How engaged is it? Is it a very passive kind of game? How do you avoid speed whiplash? I'm going to talk a little bit about whiplash. It's probably self-explanatory whiplash, but yeah. And the next one is major mechanics. Is it really convoluted? Are there a lot of different ways to play this game? Does it ask you to do mini games, little side things, whatever else? And lastly is polish. It's kind of the luck variable because it affects everything. The more polish you have, the less everything else matters. Players will accept a lot if polish is good. Like I have an example here, the Persona 5 menus. This is an awful menu in terms of time it takes to get anything done in that game. But people don't tend to complain about this because even if they have to wait a lot, the polish is incredible on it, and so you love them no matter what. Maybe not you, but like in general, people love them no matter what. So yeah, with these in mind, now the genres. Linear, the classic roguelikes. All right, so this is This is, Rogue, but this is also stuff like Dungeons and Dreadmore. I think I put Tangle Deep also in here. There's a lot of others, but a lot of like classic roguelikes, which you'd be like, this is a rogue game. It plays like Rogue. Another one I want to bring up is Balatro, because people might not think of it quite so much like that. I mean, Balatro is a roguelike in the sense, but Balatro, you really can only go forward. It gives you a menu. It asks, do you want to go forward or do you want to go more forward? The doors here are literally just the buttons that say, next, press the blind. I don't want to talk about these games as everyone knows Balatro, but it's just a button. It's just a door. You press it, you go forward. And the nice thing is about having a game that's nearly all menus is that fulfills everything I mentioned about what makes a good door. You are still playing the game exactly as you were before. Clicking on buttons and menus is already how you were playing the game. So it's just a button, but that's already how you were playing. So linear, sorry, I'm going to move on forward. Linear is basic in many ways, but it works well with games with a shorter run length and much fewer major mechanics. You don't find Rogue to be quite as complex as some of the other things I'll be talking about next. The next one I want to talk, I call it Dungeon Doors, call it Zelda. It's stuff kind of like Binding of Isaac, Into the Gungeon, Crypt of the Necrodancer, the rogue action part of Cult of the Lamb. With these maps more usually exploratory. If there is a variation to the doors, it tends to be more hidden, and what's behind the next door is basically the same as the previous area in terms of how it plays or what treasures lie within. There can be, in the game as a whole, there can be alternate endings or different biomes, but the gameplay and rewards usually don't change much within that. Often, Dungeon Doors is good for games that want to focus on constant pressure and still allow for an element of exploration. It still can't have way too many mechanics within it, though, usually find. Next one is Chosen Doors. For a while, a lot of roguelikes trended here, the bigger ones anyway, the more polished ones. You think stuff like Dead Cells and Hades, you often get choices within this that can change where you ultimately end up, or at least dramatically change how things play temporarily. This often becomes more important for games with more major mechanics because doors help separate all types of play styles and variables within a game. So going back to Hades, the biggest example I can usually pull up, doors are integral for giving information to what the variable will be changing or given, but you can still kind of only go forward. These rooms are, they can be different from the previous room. Changing in pacing and gameplay, it allows for a longer runtime usually. So for Chosen Doors to work, you usually have to be choosing a new door constantly. Game pacing becomes a whole lot more essential. You can't have a really, really fast-paced game go a long time before coming to a stop for a long time with like dialogue or major choices and stuff. And so since there's dozens of doors usually, you'll find that doors are not just a button or a simple transition. You usually find actually in this system, doors tend to have a lot more polish with animation, transition, iconography, just because they actually are so much more important. We'll get to another system we see a whole lot more, especially now. The branching map style. This is stuff like Slay the Spire, very important as we were just talking about. Stuff like Into the Breach. And to note that the map itself isn't a door. It's the icons that are on the map that are doors, iconography. This becomes much more important for games with lots of mechanics and gameplay styles because it's hard to get that amount of info across with just door iconography. But you also don't want tons of menus popping up in the normal gameplay section. Map systems often have less exploration, weirdly, despite there being a map. And this just kind of makes for a worse system in action games oftentimes due to the pacing, but it still works if the time between doors is very small. Map systems might have paths like Monster Train or Slay the Spire. They might have grids more like Honkai Star Rail. There's my game Rogue Labyrinth. I use a map system like this. In all cases, the player is still funneled forward with no chance of really getting lost. Yeah, it usually allows for a little bit longer of game runs. And for the very last one that I want to kind of go over is the open world. This is stuff more like a Metroidvania. There are dead ends and ways to get lost, and you sort of just kind of lack the end goal or point location sometimes. This has less to do with the door system I'm talking about, but there are still doors here, just like going between biomes for their own iconography of change. This works for slower or long runs and can be much more overwhelming. Exploration is a much bigger deal usually. things tend to be in a slower pace, sort of like a slow medium pace oftentimes, because weirdly, you can't have it be super slow like turn-based. It's actually a little too slow for the experience. I want to skip ahead to the end. I mean, that was pretty much the end anyway. But I could talk about this stuff for forever. But yeah, bye. I hope this made sense. People have a few things to think about doors. I thought about doors a whole lot in my own rogue game, this Rogue Labyrinth. Final notes, I guess. Just keep giving control to your player. Put in that polish. Just feel good about the decisions you make. Hello.
Hi. Wonderful. Love it. Lots of discussion about what is and isn't doors. It seems like stairs are doors. Yes, that was a major
Stairs are
discussion.
definitely doors as long as it
Yeah.
leads you to another major location and you've shown it to be that way consistently to the player and you
Yeah.
have the choice to go down. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah. No, that it makes sense. Love it. Thank you to the Doormaster, Lord of Doors,
thank you.
for attending Roguelike Celebration. People are talking about Hot Pockets as ravioli now. Truly, we're off the wall in this ontological debate.
A hot pocket is a
Wonderful.
door. I don't know what they're talking about.
All right. I mean, it's a path to something. Wonderful. If you want to discuss more about what is and isn't a door, they can do so in the Goblin Singers after our last talk. Thank you, Doormaster.